Morning, everyone. Just got back from Capital City Meltdown last night. Uh, what can I say about it? It was just a lot of driving. It was about 12 hours of driving in total in like 2 days. So, I drove up Saturday morning really early and came back last night. But, the tournament's still fresh in my mind. This video will be a review of the tournament, but I'm not going to go too detailed about my games, like every little move that was made, every crew. It's just, I don't think it's that important. But I do feel like there's a lot of thoughts and lessons I took from it. If you listen to my video about schemes and stones, I made a lot of like, oh, maybe I'll do this with Sommer and this with Wong, this with Zip, and these models, blah 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 blah. In the end, that video, while great thought process, I ended up just soloing Wong. I didn't even bring my other masters to the event. Some of it was due to Sommer burnout. I actually do love playing Sommer. I think he's super fun myself. And I really wasn't that burned out on him, but I kind of felt like Wong was this master who I love the idea of. I love playing in the past, and I felt he needed some attention. So I said I'm gonna just play Wong in every round, no matter what, even if it's not ideal. I knew going into the tournament that round 3 would be tough for me, the toughest. And I think which is the other one? No, the other ones I were all doable with Wong, definitely. I thought round 3 would be the toughest one. It was the Reconnoiter round. But either way, I mean there's no excuse. Wong can certainly do it, and I definitely, looking back on my games, um, I see mistakes and everything. I'll just tell you what the result. Now I ended up winning 4 games. I lost 1 game. I came in third. I lost to Larry, who's my ITC team member. I did lose the third round, the Reconnoiter round. As I said, it was going to be my hardest one, and it ended up being my hardest one. But yeah, we'll go through it. So real quick, I played Wong. I took a fairly similar list every round. I always took Wong. Obviously, I always took Bert, Frank, to Swinecursed. So I always had those 4 models. I took 2 or 3 stuffed piglets every game. And then my last flex slot was either Trixie. 1 game I took Gracie, and 1 game I took McTavish. And then I did throw in a Bayou Gremlin in the Reconnoiter. What did I drop for that? I still had the other models. I think it was like upgrades and stuff. Yeah, I don't know how I fit everybody in. Oh, I had no stones. That's right. 'Cause I couldn't stone for any cards because I was out of stones instantly. That was rough. Yeah, because I actually started running bigger caches. I started dropping a stuffed piglet for 2 more stones, which I liked. So I beat my friend with Shenlong first round. That was a very, very close game. I then beat Dreamer and Steak. That really wasn't close. He just put his models too far forward when he summoned them, and they just died before they ever activated. Because I have so much range with Reckless and shooting and Wong, and then it just overwhelmed because my whole crew just fights so well. And when you have scheme runners versus my crew are awful because I have 7-point scheme runners in Swinecursed and Bert who kill all other scheme runners. So you really have to fight fire with fire and beat me back. I then lost to Larry and Reconnoiter. He played Sandeep. Not too much to say there. I scored. We each scored 6 on schemes. I just didn't have enough models in the end to keep scoring Reconnoiter. I probably made a list error there. I think I should have took McTavish over Trixie. But that'll go into some of my more conversation. Fourth game, I beat other Gremlins in Reckoning. That's where I took Gracie, and I thought he might take a Picapult because my videos talked about taking a Picapult, and he did. And so I made Frank glowy, and I just reactivated Gracie. In third activation, she landed next to. She companioned Frank, who was next to the Picapult, and killed the Picapult in 1 hit. And he actually, he had already fired the Picapult, and it just did 3 damage to his Swinecursed. So it really didn't. I don't know why I killed it, to be fair, because just me engaging it with Frank, I could have killed the Swinecursed next to him, maybe in 1 shot. Anyway, that's whatever. Once I killed the Pigapole, it's hard for him to win from there. And then round 5, I played a local with Nelly. It was a close game, but I ended up winning that one. So, like I said, 4-1, third place. It happens. Obviously, third is nice. I always expect to win. Expect's a bad word. I want to win. Like, if I don't win the tournament, then it's not like successful to me. And that's not to shit on, coming anyone who doesn't come in first or comes in third. It's just my own expectations are losing a game is not like, I'm not like, oh, at least I won 4. It's more like, no, I didn't win them all. Why did I lose? What happened? What can I take from this? And that's good. I mean, even in I wasn't happy. I was very unhappy with myself in multiple games. I think the only game I wasn't like unhappy with myself was my second game. And that's because like Nick just the way he played it made it, I'll be honest, we talked about this. It made it kind of easy for me because of just the matchup and everything. It was kind of like just doing my thing. But I felt like in some of the harder situations, some of the models I played just poorly. I didn't like how I did it. Maybe I didn't feel as careful with my movement in some matchups, or I was just charging things in, being like, oh, this will work, and not kind of thinking about the next steps. Kind of going a little too. I think I went in with the idea of it's so easy to play, everything just kills everything. And while there is an aspect to that, it's not the same. Like it's just not the same. You need to have a little bit more nuance to it. But at the same time, Wong doesn't provide as much control, in my opinion, as someone like Sommer does. So you are, at least I felt, more on the back foot, or at least on the razor's edge with him. General thoughts from this tournament. One, I don't think you need like 4 stuffed piglets with Wong. It felt weird. I felt like one of my worst things this weekend was my Wong activations. It just always felt real shitty. Like, really insignificantly bad. Like, he didn't do that much damage, because a lot of people avoid the... Like, if you avoid the pulse, or only have, like, one model in the pulse, like, it's like a 25% chance you take 2 damage. Like, it's not that insane. He does 2, 3, 5, with the blast. So you usually have to focus if you want to get it. I just felt I was spending my cards elsewhere. Like, sorry. I was like spending them on my like beaters, and so I never really wanted to waste my high cards on Wong because I never had that opportunity to do like a million damage pulse. And maybe I just didn't take the chances I should have. I think there's only one game where I could have like really went crazy with Wong and tried, but it just felt like his activations were underwhelming in general, to the point that I sometimes question why I take Wong over Zip. Because so fundamentally, Wong's only benefit to his crew is Ooh Glowy and the one Glowy upgrade, right? That's his only benefit. Like, he doesn't make anybody better, he doesn't push anybody, he doesn't, Glowy makes somebody better, but he doesn't, like, there's no other, like, weird synergy with his crew. So, like for example, Sommer can give out buffs to everybody. Sommer gets cards when people die. Sommer can summon. Like, there's a little more like interaction with his crew. Wong has like 0. Like, Wong could literally be on the flank doing nothing, and he would still be Wong. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? And I guess what I'm saying is the value of Glowy and the Reckless and the +1 damage on the Swinecursed and whatnot, is that worth what I would say if you compare him to Zip? I think Zip's the better counterexample because Zip, because Sommer is too different with all the summoning and stuff. Zip, you could replace Zip in Wong's list, right? And you have to then tell yourself, is Zip going to get me more value with his arguably better zeros and his better attacks, in my opinion. I think his attacks are better, especially like in the crew with Wong, right? So you're a crew full of beaters, with Bert, Frank, two Swinecursed, and Wong's this blaster who's like medium range, 10 inches. And if I sound like I'm being, what's the word? I'm playing like devil's advocate of anti-Wong. So if I say anything, it's not because I like hate him. It's more that I'm trying to like put him in a negative fashion to just see things a different way. So instead of having this so you have this fighty crew, and then you have this blasty master who does like pulse damage. But then you're like, why do I need to do the pulse damage? Like, Zip getting in there and like throwing somebody, like you have so much chance to like throw somebody to your beaters and then like beat the crap out of them. You know what I mean? Like that's a lot better than Wong like shooting them from afar, in my opinion. And Zip can get in there and tussle. So one thing I found was having masters that like beat face and like get in there, I think are like really useful because like in this Wong type crew or this like fighty with all your things are good, because masters usually take a lot of AP to kill, right? Usually they take more than the average model. And because of this, and because Malifaux models pretty much fight on full, use until they're dead, it means like your master is soaking all this AP, soaking, while the rest of your crew is alive, beating their face off, right? The best best things people did, the worst things people did versus me was attack Wong directly. And to me, I think you should kill everything else. It's kind of like with Nelly, right? Here's Nelly. If you kill all of Nelly's like big guys, she's not going to win the game probably by herself, in my opinion. If if you kill her bird or her whatever she brought with her, it's kind of like Colette. If you kill all her fucking obey targets, prompt targets, then she's standing there looking at you like, oh, cat in your face. So in my opinion, people waste, for being a 12 wound armor 1 model with stones and squeal, people put way too much AP in it because he's not the one that kills you, right? They go after Wong, he doesn't die, and it's not like he's the one that's like, I'm gonna beat you back with my fan. No, it's like Bert comes in and like kills you, and then Wong's like saved, right? So that's like my little opinion there. It's almost, when if he was Zip and Zip can like fight back, Zip can go annoy, Zip can run and like Zip can like gives you that reach that you don't normally have. Right? If somebody has a Hans in the back and you're Wong's crew, right? What are you gonna do? You don't have, you have some speed. I'm not saying you don't have speed, but Zip is like, I move 24 inches and fuck you up next turn type thing. I just was feeling that the use I got out of Wong was very low. He did a lot of scheming, which is fine, but so did my crew can scheme. I never felt very significant with his blasting. It just felt like, and obviously Glow is great. I mean, you really got to come down to, is it good to have the reckless and regen on all the regen and +1 damage on Swinecursed and the one model versus what the model can do, right? So I'll give you an argument from the Swinecursed perspective, because I did face like a Swinecursed that wasn't glowy. So regenning reckless. Obviously people think that's super broken on Swinecursed because you basically get free reckless. I will say it is extremely good. Let's start with that because I don't want people to misconstrue. I'm going to try to downplay it, but I'm going to say that free reckless rarely severely changed the game for me. And I'm going to tell you why. One, Swinecursed are 7 wounds, defense 6. If they reckless first turn, there's a good chance they're changing into pigs anyway. Or they're going to change into pigs turn 2, right? So they would have taken 2 reckless at that point. And they're probably going to heal 2 damage. So right there, there's a good chance that they didn't even need the heal. Like I tend to have wasted healing when I change into pigs because they haven't taken damage yet. Because if they take damage, they usually die. That being said, their defense 6-7 wounds. So when I commit them, I'm usually like, there's a good chance they're gonna die. If they get attacked, they usually die. Is what I'm saying. Whether I reckless up or not, whether I have 7 wounds, yeah, I mean there's gonna just be cases where I've reckless, I'm down to 6 wounds, and then I die to 2-3 min damage, something like that, right? I'm not saying that's impossible. What I'm saying is they're a model who tends to die because people commit to them, and they also waste a lot of their own self healing. So my question is, how much if I tracked and said, all right, like if I just had this perfect sense of being, how would the game have gone at this moment if I didn't have regen? Would I have healed it here? Blah blah blah. And obviously, it's a little different when you see 1 on 7 wounds versus 1 on like 6 or 5 wounds because the math changes on how many attacks you need and focusing and all that. But I guess the point remains is it's the regen part is very good, but because they have a self heal that they rarely use because they either die in between. Like, yeah, you get kind of what I'm saying. That part has actually been whatever, and so it's really +1 damage. You know, it's 2, 3, 5 versus 3, 4, 6. Obviously, 3, 4, 6 is way better. But could you survive with a 2, 3, 5? Ignore everything. That's a question. And then you have to say, all right, now I'm not going to have a glowy McTavish or Burt. And it's hard to give that up. Like, it's hard to just say, let's just say I had the same crew with Zip and Wong. It's hard to say, do you want Wong's +1 damage and regen, or do you want Zip's more, fightability? And when you think about it, all the cool things that come with Zip, you gotta realize, like him throwing models back. You gotta remember that the models you're throwing back to really aren't as strong as the models you were originally fielding, right? 3 models have less damage than they did before, blah, 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 blah. So that's a question. It's kind of like, it feels bad initially, but maybe if I try it, it won't feel as bad. I don't think I'd always take 2 Swinecursed with Zip anyway. I think things like Lightning Bug start to become a little more interesting because they deal with armor very well as well. I mean, they have the same. They're 2, 3, 3. They're basically as good as Swinecursed as far as damage output goes without. I mean, I understand that's not a perfect comparison, but they have really good triggers. They have their 5 points. One thing that happened with that crew is I said everybody can be a scheme runner, right? Because they're all reckless. But what happened is that's exactly what happened. One of them would become a scheme runner. And now, in Gremlin terms, I'm overpaying for a scheme runner, right? You're overpaying if your 7-point Swinecursed is just doing claim jump. In my opinion, that could be a 5-point Lightning Bug doing it, and they almost do it better, to be fair. So I almost felt like I think I played my Swinecursed. I know I'm going kind of random here, but it's just I played my Swinecursed really poorly. I think they were usually too far out in the flanks. They were too schemy, and I should have just went more towards the middle. Like I needed the model to help fight. Like I needed all my forces on one page going. Let's do it. The Trixie pick, I understood why I took it. I didn't really need to cheat to go first that much. Obviously, the thing is, like, pushing back is great when you're in like a summer crew and you just like shut somebody down. Especially since you have the activation control that you can usually push them at the end of when they've already gone, so you can kind of fuck with them. I think I should have just taken McTavish. Like, in my head right now, and obviously this will change a million times as it always does, a crew with Wong that I think is very good is Wong, Burt, Frank, 2 Swinecursed, McTavish, like 2 stuffed piglets. Like, it's 8 models. And you're like, oh, how do Gremlins play with 8 models? Well, you play it because, besides, like, so the anti-stuffed piglet thing, why have I stopped taking as many? One, the needed for stones and stuff has become apparent too. Yes, they're nice to have, but activation control only goes so far. Having 2 provides speed bumps, provides damage. Like, it's not that they're bad in that sense, but you eventually run, like, if you have 8 of them, or 8 stones, so if you have like 5, you're really missing damage, like on your other models. Then you're like right now that list had 4 beaters with Trixie, 5 with McTavish, right? 5 beaters. If let's say you just somehow put Trixie or Sammy in, now you're down to 4 beaters. If you drop one of them for Swinecursed, you're probably down to Stuff Village down to like 3 beaters. You're down to like a Frank, Bert, 2 Swinecursed, Bert, 2 Swinecursed or something. And I don't think that's enough, because if people just focus on your good models, a Sammy, Wong, 3 Swinecursed is probably not winning you the game, especially if you need scheme markers down. That was kind of what I was getting at there. So I guess McTavish could be 2 lightning bugs. Actually, he probably would be better as 2 lightning bugs in some cases. It depends. I know it depends. Only reason being, well, he gives a lot of control. Like, for example, in my game versus Larry, I took Trixie, right? And her job was kind of like to push things back and like try to get show of force for me. Well, what happened was I didn't have enough activation, so every time I would push his show of force person out of the middle, he could just get back in it because he hadn't activated yet. So it was almost like a useless cause at that point. I should have just taken McTavish, towed the line with 2 upgrades, because McTavish, he's not killing McTavish with that Sandeep list he brought. He's not killing them, at least not easily. And then you have a 14-inch gun threatening in the center of the board and threatening his guy, because McTavish, I mean, Carlos is only, what, is he 9 wounds? I mean, McTavish is a threat to stand there and just blow his head off. And as well as all other little things. Like, there's no... Anyway, he's a threat that stands there, is what I'm saying. And Trixie wasn't like a damage threat. Like, if it was like McTavish in the middle and then Bert, Frank, and 2 Swinecursed just, going at him, that was probably my biggest mistake, is I had Swinecursed like on the flanks and stuff. And like, there's no reason for the Swinecursed to contest the Windgamut. Yeah, I can kill it, but who gives a shit? The Windgamut aren't going to win him the game by themselves. If I kill his Carlos, or his Mech Rider, or his Sandeep, that'll win him the game. I think one thing I did is I overestimated how much damage like Carlos and Mech do. They actually don't do a ton of damage. To the point that if I had Bert, Frank, 2 Swinecursed, and like McTavish and Wong like in their face, like fucking right in his face, just he doesn't have the damage to take them all out, and then you start doing damage back and all this stuff. There's a lot of layers to the game that could have went differently, but that's just my point I'm trying to make is there's a point where I'm just like stacking damage, right? Just stack damage. The Wong crew it does one thing really well. It does a lot of damage. So I felt like you need to go all in on the damage, because like Trixie pushing a model back does not do that. But just spend the points and kill it. Like, you have the models. It's not like your crew isn't killing. You don't need to subdue a model. You just kill every model. So that's where I kind of felt like when I was in the actual games, I was like, 2 Stuffed Piglets is fine. Again, this started with Stuffed Piglets and then it went real downhill quick. The thing was, the crew is fighting. So turn 2, you're starting to fight usually. You don't need the Stuffed Piglets activation control turn 2. It does nothing for you. What they do is they run in and they type an enemy, and that's fine. But you don't need 5's worth of that. Because usually if you're on them turn 2 and 3, your first activations are going to be Bert, Frank, Swinecursed, because you want to do the damage before they can attack you back. This isn't the same style as before. And I think with GG 2017 has also changed the game a good bit in favor of anti-Stuffed Piglets. Not anti as in like you can't take any, but because, yeah, they can deny a lot of schemes, but they also like don't do schemes well. You need a lot more AP to do claim jump nowadays. A lot more AP to do other things. So, and they don't give you that. They don't interact. So a Bayou Gremlin in a sense is almost more useful at times. And that's why I think the Somber Crew works so well, because you do have those 3 Soulstone models putting down scheme markers, and then when you think about it, in Wong, yeah, everybody's a scheme runner, but that's 7 Soulstones I paid for the Swinecursed to drop a scheme. That's not exactly, a cost effective if you think of other of 5 soulstone models or 3 soulstone models putting down ski markers. So I think that's kind of something I lacked, compared to Sommer, where you're getting very valuable AP out of all your big guys, and if you're doing stupid little shit, it's like with a Bayou. Um, so I haven't like made another. So I think lightning. I think lightning bugs are real good because mainly because one, they can do claim jump on their own on a flank, which is really sweet. But they also can fight. Like they're legit fighters, and they have a really. I actually think they have a nice trigger. They actually help you get more use out of your low cards because of their zero action. The interact or the heal or even like the blow up one is pretty good. It's 2 damage to everybody in the pulse. Um, so things like that. If you have a one of crows, you can do the blow up or the slow thing, or they have slow triggers. They make a. I mean, obviously Trixie has a slow trigger on a crow, but your crew doesn't really have any crow. They have nothing amazing crow triggers. But they can give some big thing slow. Like I said, anything that's reckless and charges is annoying. So, so yeah, I think lightning bugs. I didn't use any. I should have probably used some, just because they're annoying enough when they charge. Like you have to deal with them because they do 2-3-3 with annoying triggers. But at the same time, if one of them gets delegated to going on the flank and just scheming, you don't feel like it's not doing its job. Like it's 2 soul stones, yes. Less, like you feel like, oh, that's nothing. It's basically, but that's still a big deal. And then your Swinecursed are fighting. That's the thing, right? Look at somebody has to scheme. My list was 2 Swinecursed, Bert, Frank, Trixie. Who's scheming? I have to pick one. But they all do so much damage or is useful, right? Well, if Trixie's scheming, she might as well be something else, in my opinion. If Wong was kind of scheming, but I don't want him to scheme too much at that point. So I think like not having delegated and stuff like this can't do it. Not having delegated schemers so that like my core could just like fuck you up hurt more than I thought it would. Because unlike convict labor where you can just drop the markers and then every AP, you have to spend 2. That's kind of the gist of all this. In claim jump, you have to spend 2 AP a turn. There's no like saving markers for the next turn. There's no they stay, blah, blah, blah. You have to spend 2 AP a turn. And that 2 AP has to come somewhere in your crew. So, yeah, if you have little shitty guys that can do it, that's fine. But otherwise, you're spending a Masters or a 7 to 8 Soulstone models AP to do it. If you don't have something left. So, I think that was a mistake I learned. Whether it was Bayou Gremlins in the crew or Lightning Bugs. I mean, you can get 3 Bayou Gremlins for less than 2 Lightning Bugs, but you have to know that they're not going to do as much. I think Lightning Bugs work well, but it's just that was like the mix of like I just felt like I could do more. I think I should have been more aggressive with Wong. I think Wong can take a lot of damage. Obviously, you lose the buff if he dies, so I don't really want him to die. But people sink a lot of AP into him, and if you can almost bait somebody, because it's very hard to one around Wong. But if you can bait somebody into charging him, and you're in a position that you can countercharge with a lot of your models, then I think that's good. So maybe Wong has more play than I give credit for. I'm gonna think of Zip List too. Obviously in the end, he just plays a different way. He just plays like balls deep. Like some of the matches where I was like, hey, you can just hang back and do this if you're Summer. Him, you're just like kill everything. I do think he's good in Stake of Claim. I do think he's almost better in Stake of Claim than the Pigapult list. I'm gonna tell you why. It's a lot harder to counter him fucking you up big time, right? So this is where everybody being a scheme runner, I think, is more valuable because even then, if you had the bugs, it'd be the same thing. And even McTavish is probably pretty good in this, but you beat all, like, they have to take somebody to get across the board and drop 2 AP, right? Somebody has to do it for them. And it's either going to be a scheme runner that you fuck up because all your guys are better and faster, or it's going to be a guy so big that they don't have the 8. Like, you just have you have so much AP in your little ball. And then I think it's like, if they need to take scheme runners, Wong's at an advantage. I think I didn't take it. I didn't take advantage of this enough. If you just take a Wong list, it's all Killy, right? And you can count. I count lightning bugs as Killy. I do. I really do believe that they are. And I would even consider in some cases doing a lightning bug and a slop hauler, because slop hauler is a little slower, but it does 2/3/3. It has Bayou 2 card, which is nice, and it has a situational heal where if you're in the middle of a scrum and you're like slop hauler, you can heal a good bit of wounds on people. Like, wounds are very valuable. Like, every wound on Wong is real big. Every wound on Frank is real big. And if you hit somebody, they're defense 4, and then you fuck them up with everybody else. Like, you really, like, I think that's the one thing, because the slop hauler has a really far range. It's like 13 inches. It's as far as Bert, right? No, Bert's 12. He charges farther than Bert, like with his reckless charge, right? If you hit something, you fuck it up. Like a defense 4 model, everybody in your crew just goes in and wails on it. And if you hit a master, just the threat of it. People are burning cards. You buy your 2 card, you're like, oh, I should have taken it. Damn. Nonetheless, that's just a comment there. But what I'm saying is, if every scheme runner they take, you're like fucking them up, because if you can kill their scheme runners or you just kill their big things, assuming the right crew, you can just win so many matchups like that. I think there's a point, like Sommer's just a different type of beast, right? He does schemes so well and outdoes what you're doing that, like, yeah, I guess that's the best way I can put it. I think I needed Sommer for recon, though. But looking back, I could have made a Wong list to do it. I feel like I learned a lot. Obviously, I've been just kind of rambling on about my thoughts. I'll have more videos regarding the tournament and my thoughts of other meta and master. I don't want to start talking about the entire meta in the middle of a small tournament recap. But there you go, guys. If you want to know, okay, I played Shenlong, Dreamer, Sandy, Zip, and then Nelly. So I did get to play 5 factions. So that's good. Anyways, thanks for listening. I'll have some more videos coming out this week. I'll probably have a good bit, because Kelly's going on a trip for her friend's wedding that I'm not going to. So I'll have days alone where I can just sit and talk to you guys. So look forward to that. Thanks again, guys.